Fun.
I waited this time?
Yes.
Yes. I was waiting on. I was
about
going
to cut me off. I was going to be like, hello, welcome to the Woman's Care. I was going to say the Ladies Tale podcast.
But yes,
I should
the Ladies Tale podcast. Welcome to the Ladies Tale podcast.
No.
Welcome to the Let me say it one more time. Welcome to the Ladies Tale podcast.
No.
Oh, look. Motion carried and passed.
It cannot be passed by
carried
you.
and passed.
It can't.
Okay, then. Okay. Motion carried. Jade carries it. Motion passed. D passes it.
No, you did not.
Yes.
I'm not even gonna.
Oh, OL did the narcissist today, y'all.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
Really?
The world is coming to an end when she can out narcissist me.
Narcissist? Is that even a word? Oh, you just. I write for a living.
No one knows.
No one knows you write for a living.
No,
if you don't, if you don't know that we write for a living, here it goes. We wrote literary life guides with pop poetry. Okay, so now everyone knows.
Okay.
Now everyone knows you write for a living, and you don't know how to.
Okay.
So, and I thought divorce was bad with other life lessons, and I thought being grown up was easy. If only I were me, a memoir in verse, the Widow web series, and For and Coffee, all where you can get your audiobooks, right? So go and get that, or you can go to our website and get my favorite book, or Amazon. All right, so that favorite book is And I Thought I Did My Journey Alone. And if you want to go to the website and find out everything your ladies are doing, go to,
www.andithoughtLadies.com. Jay, go get water.
Go get water. No, I have to say, but y'all aren't here to hear about us.
You're here to hear about our wonderful guests.
Wonderful guests, would you like to introduce yourself?
Now go get water?
Yes, now go get water.
Hi, I'm Lauren Francis Sharma, author of Till the Well Runs Dry and Book of the Little Axe. Let's see, I think you want me to say 3 interesting things about myself. I'm not sure if I can do 3 interesting things, but I'm not a coffee drinker, but I do drink very strong green tea every day. Like the kind of green tea that like you have to strain with, like that come in like the Chinese tin can that you literally use the leaves, the real leaves. And I said I wasn't going to get another dog, but now I have another dog. Yeah, kids. And let's see. And yeah, I'm losing my edges because I pull my hair back too much.
Oh no! That last one's just sad. I was about to say your third thing is my hair is gorgeous.
Yes.
That was your third thing.
You know that whole pull thing, you know, when you put it in a bun all the time? Yeah.
Yes. Oh my goodness, that means you're a serious professional.
Right.
No, I don't know. The bun thing is not doing it. Yeah.
No. Because like I'm always trying to pull it back, but like I'm a serious professional, you know.
I think, and then like somewhere in the middle, the silliness just takes over and be like,
Pretty much. Yeah. I do have questions. I apologize. First of all, I'd like to start off with gushing over the fact that, wow, you were the assistant director of the Writers' Loaf Conference?
The bread loaf. Yeah. Yes, I am. Fun stuff. Vermont in August. So I don't have to be there in the winter.
Yes.
Yes.
What is it like? Because I loved reading the one line. This is the oldest and most prestigious writers' conference. I was like, wow, I feel like I'm honored to read the page.
That does sound sort of interesting, doesn't it? It's true, but it does sound very interesting. Bread Loaf started a long time ago. I think we're in our 96th year. So, you know, many of the other writers' conferences sort of, you know, used our style to do what we do, workshopping and the whole thing. Yeah, and you know, it's like a summer camp for writers. I don't want to make it sound light because it's a really intense, 10 days, but you come, you workshop, you listen to amazing writers lecture, you take classes, not just workshop your pieces, but you take other classes on particular craft things, and there's just this gathering of people. The first time I went there, I remember just being like, oh, it's like nerd book camp. This is awesome. Everybody's like, I want to write. I love books. And you find your people. So I love being a part of it.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Doesn't
you should go.
Well, yeah. Mine, and it's in the summer, so I feel like I could go.
You could go. It's yeah.
I think I'll just catch the train and go.
Ooh, that would be fun. Okay, I'm sorry, we got off track.
I'm sorry. You see, travel. We said it.
You said travel. You said
Yeah.
travel.
You said that you were the author of 2 books. Can you tell us a bit about the books and why did you choose these subjects to write about?
So the first novel is called Till the Well Runs Dry. That was out in 2014, and I wrote that novel when my grandmother got sick. She had a stroke, and she was the first one in my family to come to the United States from Trinidad. And and she was just sort of a regular woman. She like worked as a like custodian at a hospital in Queens. When she came here, she didn't have an education. She like did domestic work for a really long time. And I just, when she got sick, I was just like, wow, it's sort of remarkable that she grew up in this really, really small village in Trinidad and, had this very tumultuous relationship with my grandfather, left her children behind for a couple of years, came to this country, and now, her grandchildren are sort of, making their way, right? And so I was like, I wonder what that would look like on paper. And so that really got me thinking about writing that book. Then I thought, okay, I'm going to move away from Trinidad for a little bit. I'm going to write a completely different new novel, which I never finished. So then I was like, a new idea pops up in my head. And this idea was like the fantasy. Now you all are young, so you probably don't remember like Little House on the Prairie and Bonanza and okay, look, I see her face. She's like, what do you mean?
I'm thinking about, have I watched it on
Little
Netflix?
House of Prairie, yes.
Okay, so when we were growing up,
we were young when we watched it. There were some older people like 90-some years old, and they were I
don't remember that. I don't recall that at all. I recall like watching something because it was 2020. We were all in our house.
Right. Well, you do probably remember watching Westerns and how Westerns don't usually have people that look like us in them. And so I had this sort of fantasy of writing like this Western where, I was going to have my protagonist be a Black woman. And so I somehow though, I began in Trinidad and I was like, why is she in Trinidad when I'm trying to write an American Western? But anyway, she ends up in Montana. Crazy story where, you begin sort of in Trinidad when the Spanish lose the island to the English. Things happen to this family that really shake them and really unsettle like their ownership of the land. Their daughter gets into some trouble and she needs to run away. And she runs away to North America and ends up living with the Crow Native Americans in Montana, in what will become Montana, where she meets a real life historical character named Edward Rose, who is a Black Crow. And she has a family with him and has a son who is now trying to figure out sort of his life and why he looks different from everyone else in the tribe. So it begins sort of with him and this journey that they take together, where she reveals her story about her life and her family in Trinidad.
Wow. So I have to ask, how long did it take you to research all of this?
Oh my God.
That was the
first question. I
feel like there was so much Googling and so much reading.
There's a lot of Googling, a lot of reading. Yeah. That one actually that was about 4 years. That's 4 years of sort of beginning to end. And honestly, the only reason it took that short of time is because I ended up hiring a like professional researcher to help me get through it faster because I'm not a great researcher. And I felt like I needed to make sure that like I had my ducks in a row, particularly with these subjects, right? I was talking about communities that weren't my own. I wanted to make sure like everything was right? So.
Wow. Okay. So
Yes.
A professional researcher.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk a little bit about that because I feel like authors should know that this exists.
Yes. It's not like I found her like in the yellow pages. I happened to be in carpool line with my kids. And I was talking to another mom and she was like, how's that writing thing going? And I was like, it sucks, right? And she's like, oh, I used to do research for C-SPAN. And I was like, oh, did you? And so I basically hired another mommy, which actually, I love that story because it really talks about like the power of women connecting with each other and how often we overlook, these small moments of like, of relationship building that we have. And so, neither one of us expected this collaboration to occur. And she loved it because she was actually trying to figure out a new way, a new career for herself. And so she loved the opportunity to sort of dip in there and give me, things like the trees that grow in that part of Montana, right? I mean, like, there were just things that like, I just didn't want to waste my time on. And I shouldn't say waste my time, but, like, I just wanted to be able to be like, oh, okay, in this scene, I want to have these trees and these grasses and this birds and so, right.
You were world building.
I was world building.
Have time to be like, what kind of trees are they?
Right.
Someone said, these are the trees. And you're like, thank you very much.
Thanks. So she gave me like binders, right? And so, so I just flipped to the section of the binder that had like the trees in that part of Montana. And I was like, oh, great. And then when my characters went to Idaho, I had a whole other set. And so it really actually, it wasn't just simple stuff like that. It was more complicated, but that's an example of sort of things that I can plug into the story that fill it in without having had.
Like
yes,
there and you have the knowledge. It's like you live there. Mentioning living there, have you ever been to Montana and Idaho?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Oh, when I went to Montana, the first thing I thought was, oh, no wonder these people were fighting, trying to get this land from these Native Americans, right? I mean, it's stunning and it's beautiful.
It is. I mean,
why do they not have the same sky that we do?
They do not have the same sky. They do not have the same sky.
Every time I come back from Montana, and it's one of my favorite things is because we're more popular out west than we are on the East Coast. So every time we come back from out west, or you drive through Montana and you come back home, and you're just like, now I know it's the same color and those are the same clouds, but it's not even the same size. They're like this big, and out there it's just so vast. It's so expansive. Oh, and the landscape. What do you think?
Everything is just stunning.
Yes.
It's stunning. Yes. In Idaho, I didn't expect Idaho to look like that. I was sort of like, what is happening here?
What is happening here?
Yeah, and the particular area of Idaho where this story is set is by Lake Penderai. And so I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but I think that's how the locals say it. But I know the French probably say it in a different way. But anyway, so like there's a lake there, right? And I thought when I was researching, I was like, oh, a lake. And when I see a lake, you can see like one end to the next end, right?
You can't see it. You can't see it.
Right. And so I was like, that's not a lake, that's got waves in it. And so it was pretty, it's blue and beautiful. Mm-hmm. And my story here, I'm gonna go down this rabbit hole for you all, is that I get there and the spot that I need to actually be in to research this place where one of my characters is living in a post, one of these posts that they had actually, like a fur trading post that they had built out west in different parts of the country, is that I get there and I need to be in this spot, and like this boat that I'm on won't like let me stop there, and I'm like, but why? And they're like, no, it's private land. And I'm like, okay. And I see in front of me there's this very, very luxurious big home. But I don't really care because I'm just like, I just want to step on this little piece right here and take my photo, and then I'll get back on the boat. And they're like, no. Matthew McConaughey lives here. And I'm just like, oh, darn it. What? Matthew McConaughey buys the spot, which is actually a historical spot. He buys this little piece of land, builds this ginormous house. So I get off the boat, I'm with my mother, and she's like, we're going to Matthew McConaughey's house. So sure enough, we find our way in Matthew McConaughey's house, and he's got this new house. They're building it. And my mother opens the car door. She's like, run and get your pictures. Try not to get us arrested. And I'm like running across his yard, and I'm taking my shots. And I'm like, oh. The only thing I needed at that moment is to actually fall down like in a movie, right? No. So, but I got my shots, and Matthew McConaughey didn't arrest me.
So there you go. No. And that's a true mother-daughter style kind of thing. Like, no, you will get your thing. So we
came all the way to Idaho.
Money. Let's do it.
Okay, so this makes me want to read about your grandmother even more. Because your grandmother's like, we need a picture, and that's nothing. Sweetie, right. We're getting it.
Yes, that's right.
And I always think that's a wonderful thing, that when you talk about like relationships, even if it's not like a mother-daughter relationship, but if you have a friend that's like, listen, this is what you need, and if we get arrested, okay, and we'll just say, well, super sorry, but you have your picture.
That's right. We came all this way. We're gonna get what we came here to get, right? So yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
So oh wait,
where can people find your books? No, I have to ask, because before we go on, where can people find your books so you can like sell them?
Anywhere books are sold. I love it when people go to, independent bookstores or bookshop.com, bookshop.org, or is it .com? Oh,
and I think it's indie books. Sorry, y'all.
Okay, I think it's bookshop.org, but because it's a nonprofit, I think. So anyway, but that's a really good spot to do it, because then they sort of spread the money around independent booksellers. So, but of course you can get it in the usual places, the big bad evil Amazon, and the other box stores.
So like, can you tell us a bit about your publishing journey?
Yes. Oh. So I was a lawyer, a corporate lawyer, and I wanted to be a writer, but I have West Indian parents, so it was like, please. And I decided that I start writing in the middle of the night, like after I finished working. And so I started writing my first book sort of in my second year of practicing. I finished the book after maybe a year or two. And I tried to sell it, and I got some actually interesting sort of responses, but I didn't know that those responses were sort of encouragement. I saw it as like, oh, they hate my work. So, I rip up letters and I'm like, oh God, I'm never going to do this again. Anyway, I ended up actually writing another book, and I was like, oh, I'm going to change genres. This time I'm going to do, like horror. And so I wrote like a horror book. Like I took 3 years and sat down and I was like, I'm gonna write this. And again, I kept getting people being like, we sort of like this, and but no real commitments, right? I was like, I'm never doing this again. I'm done. So 10 years go by and I actually don't write a thing. Like I just stopped writing. I was like, gonna focus on being a lawyer, like, let this thing go. This clearly is not meant for you. And it wasn't until my grandmother ended up having that stroke that I was like, should I try this again? And of course the voice is like, no, you've already tried it twice. You failed. You're a failure. You're not a writer. But this time I said to myself, I'm going to do it differently. I'm not going to sit in a room by myself anymore. I'm actually going to go out and try to, be a little vulnerable and share my work with others, because maybe I can learn something from other people. And I ended up finding a class. I took this class, sort of like how to write a novel with 90 minutes free a day. But in that class, I met people, and those are the people that I ended up sort of meeting every Tuesday night, just sharing work. And it got me to sort of finish the book. And it got me feedback, in the way that I think I needed feedback, right? I mean, like when you don't know how to write, you've never taken a writing class, you don't have an MFA, like you need some feedback. And so that was, I think, an opening for me. And in that class that I took, the instructor told us about a conference called Thriller Fest in New York. And I was like, but I didn't write a thriller this time. I wrote a novel about my grandmother. And she's like, it doesn't matter. There are agents there. Anywhere there are agents, you go. And I was like, okay. So I show up like, the following July, and that's where I met my agent.
Wow. Nice. I love that. And the first shot, y'all.
And I love the agent, wherever the agent you go. You go.
Right. Yeah. No, the query letters are, query letters are all good, but you can actually get in front of people, and, especially if you got a little charm, you can pull yourself a little bit together every once in a while. Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Definitely. Like with the bun.
Yep.
Like
by the bun. I can definitely see the bun.
I can see the bun. I'm excited for the bun now. The bun got it done.
No, I love
the bun got it done. Yes, I love that.
I just want you to know that is now a poem.
I know it is.
I don't know which one of us is gonna take that first. I might have to put that on Twitter
I will.
first.
As soon as I get off of here, 15 minutes after this, around 4:15, it'll be in a book.
But you have But you have absolutely the right to say that. In fact, when you're
No.
doing like when you're teaching workshops and stuff, just be like, as one of my fellow colleagues, author said, JD said, the bun got it done. So
The bun
y'all
got it done. I'm gonna give you that because it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
All right. So do you know when the next conference is happening? Yes, I'm gonna go with conference because
Thriller Fest happens. Oh, you mean Thriller Fest or Breadloaf? Which one?
the Breadloaf.
Oh, Breadloaf is every August, the second week in August. And applications opened November 1st and close February 1st, I believe. So,
what do you need the application for, and how do we do it?
Yeah, so now is the time. It's online. You need a writing sample, and it depends. There's 3 different levels to apply for. If you are sort of a budding writer and an emerging writer, if you're an emerging writer and you have 2 things that you can apply for, you can actually pay to come to the conference and be a contributor, or you can get a scholarship and be a scholar. If you're a scholar, you have to have like some pieces published. If you're, you haven't had any pieces published, you're probably going to end up having to pay, but we do have scholarships for those folks as well. And then there's another level, and which are fellows, and those people usually have 1 book that's published, and they actually help faculty members sort of in workshops. And so they're like another person in the workshop with them. They're getting their stuff worked on too. They're creating relationships, but they have sort of a helping role in the conference. So, every level is competitive, but not as competitive as sort of the fellow level and the scholar level. But my first time, I actually just saved my money and went as a contributor. And, I had a book published, but I didn't know anything about like fellows and scholars and all that. I was just like, I just want to go to this conference. Like, how am I going to get there? And so that's what I ended up doing. So it didn't, it was worth the money for me. I mean, it's expensive, but it was certainly worth it for me and changed my life.
I was going to say, obviously you're sitting here right now today on the show. Well, I don't know if that's really a great thing to be like on the show.
On other shows,
you have great books.
We are 1 step away from Oprah, baby. 1 step away.
No, well, we don't have the fantastic bun, so we can't get it done. That's how it goes.
But you got the flowers. You got the flowers. Oprah always has those beautiful flowers.
Absolutely. Okay, so before we round out, what are 2 pieces of advice that you would give people that may have been like you? Hey, I have this I have this job, I have this career, but also I have a burning passion to write. What would you tell them to do?
And this is not a plug for Breadloaf, because the first conference I went to was actually the San Diego Writers Conference. So I would say go to conferences. This is where you're going to meet other writers, where you might meet an agent. Who knows? If you don't, doesn't matter. But you're just going to be in the vicinity of sort of other people who are, who want to do the same thing you want to do. And you'd be surprised how important that is in your life. So community, I think, is like trying to find yourself a writing community is the first thing I'd say. What is the second thing I'd say? That 90 minutes a day really changed my, I had 2 small kids when I sat down to write that book. I think they were 2 and 4. I mean, it was just maybe even slightly younger. I mean, and I didn't know if I could squeeze out 90 minutes a day. I mean, like, really, I was like, I don't know if I have 90 minutes a day. And I remember having to call my sister and I was like, I need somebody to watch these kids for like 2 hours, 15 minutes there, 15 minutes back, and 90 minutes in class. Like, could you do that every Tuesday for me? And I was so scared because I was like, she's going to say no. She doesn't have any kids. She ain't got no, time to be messing with my children. And she was like, yeah, I'll do it. And I was like, oh, so ask for help. Ask for help. Whatever help that means, whatever that support, read my work, just, help me look for the right book for, for this scene, whatever it is, just ask for help.
Wow, those are really great
points. And I don't really think I've heard ask for help.
I don't think I've heard that.
As a piece of advice on the show. Yes.
Wow. So y'all do that. That's amazing.
Yep.
And where can people find out more about you? Social media, website, books?
Yeah, you know, you don't want to follow me on Twitter. I'm political. So I'm on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, you know, and I'm fairly active. What do? I review for the San Francisco Chronicle sometimes. You know, I have a couple pieces that come out occasionally. I wish I was, you know, sort of a small short story essay writer more, but I'm not, but I'm working on that. Like, oh, can I add that? Can I?
Multiple pieces.
Yeah.
Like electric lit, right?
Yeah, yes, it's true. I have some. I have some, but not a lot. Not the way that like I think you ought to, which is my third piece of advice. Don't just, you know, sit thinking about your novel if you're a novelist, right? Like write small pieces, get them published. You know, now that I work with Redlow, I realize that like they love that. Editors are really looking. You know, they're actually looking at those pieces in journals and online journals and in paper journals and glossies and all that, because they're looking for the next voice, the new, fresh voice, right? And so if you get those pieces done, your door is going to open a lot wider.
Wow.
So yeah, that's how you find me, I guess. I don't know.
Okay, all right, and that's how you'll find it.
Tell you guys, it is actually a bit difficult to
and
find.
tell us the two books again that we can definitely pick out.
Book of the Little Axe, that's the Montana Trinidad one, and Till the Well Runs Dry is the my grandmother Trinidad one.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
I've had a blast.
Super enjoyable, right?
Hey.
I guess I'll just go ahead and wrap us up. You can find out everything your ladies are doing on www.andithoughladies.com. While you're there, go to the middle of the page and see the charities that we probably support. Maybe we can support them also. We thank you in advance for that. And just remember, y'all, wisdom is all around you if
you're open to finding it and accepting it. Peace and love, you guys, from Will No.
And Jade. Bye-bye. Oh yeah, thanks for listening.